Now let's explore some basic operations pertaining to the PI Data Archive. First, let's explore the way we can figure out the version of the PI Data Archive. To do this, let's open up PI System Management Tool from Start, All Programs, PI System, and selecting PI System Management Tools. Then go to Operations and click on PI version. Here, you would note that the version of the PI Data Archive, for example, it is 3439016, and it is a 64-bit PI Data Archive as well. Furthermore, as in this example, you would also be able to ascertain if certain patches have been applied properly. In this case, we can confirm that the patches that were supposed to be applied to certain subsystems were indeed applied. For example, in this patch, we had a patch for the PI Net Manager, PI Base Subsystem, and PI Archive Subsystem. Now, let's next click on the so-called PI Services, which is this, which is also under Operations. Here you would note quite a few services that are running. These are all subsystems that make the PI Data Archive, and each service or subsystem is vested with a specific responsibility. For example, there is something called an archive subsystem, which stores and serves the data after it comes from the snapshot system. There is a license manager, which maintains the license information that you have for your PI Data Archive. There is a message subsystem, for example, that records status and errors pertaining to the PI Data Archive in log files. There is a Network Manager Subsystem, which manages communication between the PI Data Archive Subsystem, interfaces, and client applications. And like that, you have other subsystems. For example, Snapshot Subsystem, which we discussed earlier, to name a few. So all these subsystems work in unison to make the functionality of your PI Data Archive. Finally, it is also important to remember that in order to stop and start the PI Data Archive, one should not start and stop these services or subsystems at random, as to avoid corruption. To assist you in stopping and starting the PI Data Archive, we have two scripts, namely PI SRV start and PI SRV stop. And these scripts are residing in PI ADM folder. So let's go to the PI ADM folder and see what these scripts are. Go to C, and we know that we have the PI Data Archive installed under C program files, PI, and we need to look into the administrative folder. And if you scroll down, we will see two scripts, namely the PI SRV start for starting the PI Data Archive, and likewise PI SRV stop.bat for stopping the PI Data Archive. So let's open up the services panel, and if I just highlight one of them and click P on the keyboard, it should take you to all PI related services on your machine, and in that you can see all the subsystems have been started and currently working. As you can see here in the Service Manager plugin, the PI Data Archive Subsystem services are set to type automatic. This means that your PI Data Archive will automatically turn on when the server itself is started. Thus, you will only need to use the PI SRV start.bat if you stopped your PI Data Archive without shutting down the entire machine, and you need to turn back on the PI Data Archive. These scripts are also useful for stopping and starting the PI Data Archive for configuration changes that require the PI Data Archive to be offline. So now let's try to stop the PI Data Archive. So let's open up the command prompt and navigate to the PI server environmental variable. And let's go to the subfolder with ADM. and I can stop my PI Data Archive by executing the command PI SRV stop.bat. Now you can see the PI Data Archive subsystems are shutting down in the appropriate order as specified by the PI SRV stop.bat script. Now that the scripts have finished executing, let's go back and see by refreshing the services. And as you can see, we have all the services have been stopped for PI Data Archive. Now let's do the reverse and start the PI Data Archive by executing the command PI SRV start.bat. Now let's go back again and refresh the services panel, and lo and behold, all the services have been started, and these have been started in the proper order which is required for the functionality of the PI Data Archive.